Welcome to Northside Pirate Podcast. We're from Small Green Shoots, a youth-led charity which helps guide young people that are looking to get into the music industry.
We're here on behalf of the National Heritage Fund, producing a podcast celebrating the history and future of pirate radio.
Pirate radio stations on council estates on the Hackney and Islington borders were the pulse of London's music culture airwaves for over 2 decades.
They provide a voice for underground and black music subcultures that was missing from commercial radio playlists influenced by major record label pluggers, homogenizing mainstream tastes.
As the new millennium and multiple satellite TV dawned, community and DAB radio took hold. The death knell of the pirate radio stations told, and slowly their local subcultures diminished with them, their sources being forgotten.
Some of the most popular pirate radio stations were Kiss FM and Radio Jackie, which are now both licensed and legalized.
Today's guest is Chris Mitchell, a podcast producer and musician. He joins us to talk about his history in pirate radio and why it played such an important role in finding his voice.
Okay, so Chris, what was your first experience with pirate radio?
My first experience with pirate radio was really interesting. I got into pirate radio because of my mum and the church I went to. So I know that sounds crazy, like pirate radio in church, but that's how it happened for me. There was a local station where I lived called Unique FM, and they were very popular, a very, very popular station who played a lot of different genres of music, particularly black music. And they wanted a gospel show.
Okay.
They were in talks and they were doing business deals and really making moves to get a license. So I remember one day my mum went up to the station and had a meeting with the station head, and his name was Mikey Coos, rest in peace. He passed away a couple of years ago. And she basically said, look, you know, we support what you're doing in terms of trying to get a license. And even though we shouldn't really be doing this, it's a community thing. So, you know, we'll be happy to support your gospel show. And it was, the show started in 1998. I really remember. And it was started by a guy who became my mentor. And I didn't realize it at the time, but he was my mentor. His name is Andrew Smith. And it's really, really important that I mention him because he used to be a reggae DJ.
Okay.
Wow.
So I remember him telling me stories about he used to like clash General Levy and all them back in the day. So his original name was UT General, like Northwest legend. So he became a Christian, and then he, you know, long story short, he ended up on the radio hosting the Gospel Hour.
Okay.
And I remember it was 1998, I think August, and the first song he played was Kirk Franklin's Stomp. So it's really important in terms of the timeline as well, because Kirk Franklin's Stomp was really a catalyst in terms of gospel music becoming more popular. And it was quite controversial. Yeah. Because a lot of people were like, this ain't gospel music. If you listen to Stomp, he was saying, you think that, you think that gospel music's gone too far. You know, he was really answering some of the critics at the time. So that was the first song. And I basically just offered to help Andrew, you know, carry CDs. You know, like back in the days, hip hop DJs would carry crates.
Yeah. So like a little runner type.
Yeah, I was a runner. So I used to carry his CDs, help him to plan the show. I'd answer the phones as well.
Yeah.
And eventually I ended up getting my own show, and I did my first ever show. It was December 25th, 2000, 6 a.m. Christmas morning.
6 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah, so people could wake up and hear gospel music on Christmas morning.
That's
On the day of
sweet.
Jesus.
You know?
Literally.
You know, so that's what I did, and that was my first entry into pirate radio
Wow.
from a presenter's perspective.
Yeah.
But I would always listen to, you know, like, you know, pirate radio outside of that, you know, particularly when it comes to, you know, my hip hop tastes
Yeah.
and so forth. But Unique FM is a legendary station.
100%.
Legendary station.
Big up Unique.
So is that how you sort of worked your way up then?
Yeah. I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get in. This is when I was young and hungry.
You had a drive.
I had the drive, so I just said, look, man, I'll carry bags, I'll carry CDs.
Yeah.
And I just learned the game. I learned on the job.
Yeah.
I learned on the job.
I feel like that a lot of people during that period all felt like that push and drive, and they sort of established something
Yeah,
100%.
definitely.
that is literally still going on to this day. That like that.
Yeah, it's important because there's no, you know, even back then, there's no school for it.
Oh, 100%.
There's no school for it. And when you come from communities where, you know, sometimes there's not a lot of opportunity. No, let me take that back. There's not a lot of social currency. So my family and my community, we're hard workers.
Yeah.
My mum was a midwife. My dad was an electrician, not an electrician, an engineer. My grandma was a cleaner at the BBC, which is really ironic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Mama made it.
yeah. I just wish she was here to see it, but rest in peace, grandma.
Oh, rest in peace.
And, you know, as much as they were hard workers, they couldn't necessarily pick up the phone and say, my son needs a job.
Yeah. It's just that old-fashioned ways, isn't it? Like, they knew what they knew. Like, it wasn't a thing where they felt like they could pick up the phone and be like, okay, my son needs a job, because they just felt like they were maybe underprivileged as well.
Yeah.
But also at the time, the system was backed up against us. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It
100%.
wasn't open for people to be like, yeah, we want these black people in our establishment.
Yeah.
It was very much, you're at the bottom of the ranking. You're
And
not gonna-
pride too.
Yeah, pride as well. Like, my parents would always be like, this is not our country.
Yeah.
So almost setting us back, because it's like, because it's not our country, like,
we're not
we
going to
don't-
try hard.
Yeah, we will never get that position. Like, already instilling that into your head, but it shouldn't be
100%.
like that.
Yeah, so I had to go and get my own training, but I didn't know that it was training at the time. It was just, okay, this is something to do. And I was at college, so I remember I used to come home from college on a Friday and go straight to the radio station. I remember even sometimes we had these metallic cases with all the CDs, and I would take that case to college with me
Crazy.
and go straight from college
Yeah.
to the radio station, and it was fun, man. I remember being there, and Andrew would always buy me food afterwards. He used to buy me like a curry goat meatloaf and a bottle of bigger juice.
You know,
Yeah.
Grape, pineapple, which was it? Black grape?
It was the fruit punch one, the red one. It's
It's the
all
only
bad
way
for
to
you.
go. It's the only
Yeah.
way to go.
Yeah.
innit?
It was all bad for you, but
Tasted good.
those were the days. It was a community radio station for the community, and that's what a lot of pirate radio is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's sick though, because you know how you're like, oh, after school I went with my big suitcase. Like, that's drive. That's literally passion. Because these days, like, people just be like, I can't be asked. But the fact that you did it with like almost not wanting anything in return, that you did it because you were passionate about it.
And I think what's also
Sick.
important is that he had that mentor person there. He had that person
100%.
to, like you said, you wish you had someone who could guide you, but you still had that person there.
Yeah,
who-
and I didn't realize until years later. I didn't realize, and I remember I had to message him about 2 years ago, and I had to say to him, "Bro, you were my mentor," and I didn't know.
Yeah.
He poured so much into me. Like, this is a guy who always say, "Yo, go and get your driver's test. Do your driving test. I'll pay for it."
Wow.
This is a guy that used to take me places, no, just to go with him.
They don't come like that anymore.
Yeah,
you know?
they really
They
don't.
really don't.
It doesn't happen like that. So, Andrew Smith, UT General, absolute legend, man.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, man, every time.
Another question that we wanted to ask was, in general, like, how, because pirate radio stations were illegal, right, back in the day. So how would you actually spread the word of that? How would you get people to tune in and like even get to know about the station?
Yeah, build engagement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
generate the buzz and the listeners.
Because literally, it's illegal.
Street stalk.
Yeah.
The
People
street
talk,
stalk.
people
So, you know,
talk.
Jay-Z said Streets is watching. Then he did Streets is talking. Both apply. The street talk and his community. People talk. And I think communities that support each other will talk. And, you know, when good stuff is happening, we talk. When bad stuff is happening, we talk.
Yeah.
Unique FM had a really unique way of promoting. So a lot of it was word of mouth. It was the original word of mouth guerrilla marketing. If you knew, you knew. And if you didn't, you knew anyway. But we used to say the number of the radio station for people to call in on the line. But we would never say, you know, like, you know, you got your 11-digit number now. We wouldn't read it out. We'd say, and you know the last one.
Oh.
So that was us saying that the last digit is 1.
Oh, okay.
So just not
that's
to-
so that's
Yeah, just not to
right,
hold it
you know,
out.
so
Just not to hold it out.
innovative, so smart, because it's
Very
like,
cool.
if you know the last number, you know it. If
You
you,
know the
don't
last one.
know, you're not getting it.
Yeah. So that's how it was at the time, and that's how we would promote. And particularly for the gospel hour, you know, we would promote it at local churches, because, you know, churches would visit each other and we go around and we talk. And I remember there was a concert at Bridge Park, and we were promoting the show on our radio show, and I got a slot to perform
Wow.
at the gospel concert. And I never forget, I did a gospel rap over Who You With, Jay-Z. I remember going to Sounds in Ladbroke Grove that morning looking for instrumentals. I bought Flip Mode Squad instrumentals, Keith Murray, and I found that beat because it didn't have any words on it. And that's how we promoted it, like just live shows, word of mouth. And bear in mind, this is before social media.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
literally why I even asked the question, because it's like now when you're promoting things, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, but this is literally back in the day where social media just was not a thing. So that's why it's literally just word of mouth. I think it's crazy that you built that much engagement from
Yeah.
literally just people talking.
Yeah.
That's literally mad.
And remember, like a lot of the DJs on the station would do live shows.
Yeah.
So they could
Yeah.
promote it that way as well. And
But
I
you not
think-
ever do like posters and stuff like that? I know walking around
yeah.
Brixton and stuff like that, I always see the little.
You know what? I can't remember. I definitely know for the gospel hour, we didn't do posters. I'm actually going to text Andrew after this. I don't think we did posters.
Because I was going to say, if it's illegal, how would you do
yeah.
posters?
Exactly.
This is all
Yeah.
so
Oh my gosh.
techie. Like, it's so interesting because you can't promote it. It's
But you
on
have
the
to
slide, but you
promote
have
it
to promote it.
to get your listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like you wouldn't be able to do posters because if someone saw that,
Yeah, you're bagged.
There you go.
You're
But
nicked.
it was all word of mouth. And like I said,
Yeah.
if you
Powerful
knew,
thing.
you knew. But we had a good listenership. To our listenership, we had people calling in. We had people who started coming to church off the back of our show.
That's
And-
powerful.
Without saying names, I know a lot of. There were DJs who were on the legal stations who took some of our ideas. They were listening.
yeah, wow.
I won't say names, but
Wait, so like they would, because they knew like you're doing something technically illegal, they would like take those ideas
Yeah,
and like put
'cause you
them within their
definitely-
And
radio
it's something that's
station.
popping, do you know what I
That's
mean?
good. You know, you must feel kind of like robbed by that though.
yes and no, but it's no different. It's like Kendrick Lamar took from Andre 3000. He was inspired by
Yeah,
him too.
yeah.
You know, so I think, we all, there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
We all influence and impact each other.
other.
It's just,
It's nice to
I'm-
be paid homage to.
pay homage. I know for a fact, Andrew was a pioneer. And I know for a fact that a lot of people took his ideas. But he's humble like that, so.
Yeah, right. You need to start copywriting those. So one other question I wanted to ask was, why couldn't they be legalized? Like, why was it a thing where you couldn't get the license for it, or what was the reason they weren't legalized? Because it's not like you were saying offensive stuff or anything for them to like cut you off and just be like, this station is illegal. So what was the reason for that?
There's a number of reasons, and they vary depending on the station. So, first reason is money.
Okay.
Licenses are expensive. I don't know exactly how much, but I do recall it wasn't like a trip to Asda. It was big money.
Okay.
It was big money. And again, when you come from communities where the money isn't really flying around like that,
Yeah.
you don't really have benefactors or people that can just walk into a bank and say, listen, I need 100 grand.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So money was definitely an issue. I think, as with all things, particularly because we live in a world that's built on like unfairness and exploitation and all those kind of things, I think there was some racism involved too, because it's a black station.
100%. Yeah.
It's a black station, and I think that played into it too, because I know there were radio stations that started afterwards
Yeah.
that got licenses as well. And I think, as with any business, it's about money. How you going to generate money too?
Yeah.
I would imagine, getting a liquor license isn't that different.
Yeah.
I've heard that to get a liquor license is a lot of underhanded stuff going on. You got to pay this person and
Jeez.
know that
Yeah.
person and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So it's just business in general.
Yeah.
So I know it was tricky. I know it was tricky, and I don't think Unique got a license. I don't think they ever got a license. Don't quote me on that. But it wasn't easy. But I do know for a fact, the community backed them.
Yeah.
The community backed it and championed it.
In a way, like, what do you know the process of getting a license? Like, what is it that what criteria do you need to match to get it?
I'm not sure. I'm gonna look into that and get back to you. But I'm not sure. I know who to ask though.
Okay.
I know who to ask.
Yeah, so I just wanted to know that obviously you have a lot of past in pirate radio, but what do you feel like radio is going to look like, and what do you feel? Yeah, what do you feel it's going to take in terms of what shape is it going to take?
Radio will be here forever. KRS One said we will be here forever, and radio will be here forever. I think we're not as reliant on radio anymore because of streaming.
Yeah, definitely.
Playlist culture.
Yeah.
So you can literally curate your own favorite songs, put them in a playlist, and you're good to go. But I think radio is still important. There are some amazing people that I know who work in radio today. You know, Shorty Blitz,
Mm-hmm.
DJ MK. You know, Shorty Blitz DJ'd my wedding.
Yeah.
So
Sick.
his, you know, people like that and, you know, radio, they still shape the tastes of future generations.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
It's really, really important. Radio is almost the pulse of the community
Yeah.
in
'Cause
many ways.
when you're in a car, you literally listen to the radio. If you don't have an aux cable,
There you go.
Yeah.
Without radio, you don't get podcasts.
100%. Yeah, exactly.
It gives all forms of entertainment. It gives like
Yeah.
music, it gives personality, it gives updates, it gives industry, literally.
You
Everything
can,
in one place.
And you can stem off of it. Like literally what you said, you can literally get so many things coming just from radio.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I think, you know, radio will be here forever. You'll continue to have internet radio, specialized shows, niche shows.
Yeah.
I'm a believer, no matter what it is you're interested in life,
Yeah.
there is a medium and a platform out
Yeah.
there for it. Whether it's a
Absolutely,
radio
absolutely.
station, whether it's a podcast. Look, I went to Fortnam and Mason a few years ago. I had afternoon tea, believe it or not. It was a big mistake. I went up there with my leather jacket on, looking like a goon. And I saw, was it tandoori flavored cockroaches?
Oh,
God.
But with afternoon tea. With
But it was in the
afternoon
shop. It was in the
tea.
shop. It wasn't part of afternoon tea. But you know what that lesson taught me? Someone
There's a
out
market
there
for anything.
wants tandoori cockroaches.
yeah.
Or see, it was mad. It was like insects, bruv.
There's literally a market for anything. It's
Anything.
crazy.
And this is what I would say to people, whether you're a DJ or podcaster, there is an audience out there for you.
for you, yeah.
And radio and podcasting, as it's evolved, will cater to that.
Yeah,
That's so
100%.
true. Do you feel like you're more open to reaching more people now? Do you know, like, I don't know, back in the 80s, you might just have this small sort of community that you can access to. But now you can have a radio station that's reaching people in Germany. Then
Yeah.
you can have a radio station that's reaching people. I don't know if you could do that back in the day, but there could be someone in Zimbabwe really bump into your set and really put in your gospel.
And it's the truth. It's like, you know, there's so many DJs with worldwide audiences. I remember I wrote in a song, I'm not a DJ, that, you know, I get props globally, but I'm barely recognized locally. And there are people in South Africa. I've got messages from people in South Africa. When you coming to do a show?
Yeah.
so sick.
My podcast, Breaking Atoms, most of our listeners are in America. So it's the whole world is out there. The whole world is out there. And because of the internet, you know, the gift and the curse of the internet, it gives you
Yeah.
access. But with that access, you literally have a worldwide audience at your fingertips, and you're reaching more people every day with the rise of smartphones and all that stuff. I think it's dope. The world is smaller. The world is a lot smaller. You have a lot of companies talking about the global office. I look at it as a global audience
Yeah.
and a global community.
Especially now that all social media is like all becoming interlocked with each other
It's
and just stuff like that.
crazy.
It's like most of your audience is gonna encompass everything you do. Like they're gonna follow you everywhere. And it's
Absolutely.
Like
And I
even
think the
LinkedIn, that is literally technically a social media platform
It
to an
is.
extent.
It is.
And
it is social media.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like that's literally what to find work. But even we'll be at work, they'll be like, follow this guy on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, radio taps into a global audience. And it's global community, people who share similar interests and perspectives and thoughts. I love it.
Do you think, I was just watching this little video, it's a bit off topic, but I was watching this little video about the metaverse and how it is crazy. You've got a whole new universe at our fingertips that is essentially not real,
Yeah.
but it is real. Do you think radio can sort of be placed within that world and sort of keep up with these new technological advances?
I think so. How? I'm not sure. But I can't imagine a metaverse without radio.
It's all audio, isn't it? Well,
I
audio
can't,
visual.
I can't imagine it. I can't imagine there's a radio station in the metaverse where you could literally, I don't know, be in the living room and you could walk into the radio station.
Oh yeah.
Or take a seat while they're doing a live
Wait,
session.
that is crazy.
I didn't even think about that.
I guess I
did
don't
not
know
even think
like of future ideas, but if you think about how like on GTA they still have a radio when you go in the cars and they still
And that's one of my
update-
favorite features of
they still
GTA,
update
those
the
radios.
And it's
It's
important. Like you look
crazy.
at GTA Radio, what that did, and not to go off on a tangent, is that it gave new life to old songs.
It did.
100%, 1,000,000%. I back that.
And not even old songs, but just songs from different genres. Like a lot of
Right.
people will be talking about how, oh, I didn't recognize this Lana Del Rey song until it was playing on
On
GTA.
GTA.
And it's like,
I got introduced to Freddie Gibbs through GTA. Now
Love
whenever I
Freddie
bump
Gibbs.
in my car, I feel like I'm in LA or Los
Literally,
Santos.
literally.
I love Freddie Gibbs.
I must have been
Amazing.
playing a song.
Really?
Literally, I must have been playing a song, and someone was like to me, "Wait, I've had this song," and I was like, "Where from?" And he's like, "FIFA."
And you know, gaming and music and radio, all of it's intertwined now. I'd love to have a song in a video game. You know how much you can eat off that?
100%.
It's
Me
so-
soon, me
Rolling around
soon.
in money.
Because a lot of people are, they're like, oh, this song reminds me of FIFA 19, or this song
Yeah.
reminds me of literally, because it doesn't change. Obviously with GTA they update and stuff like that, but certain games people will always go back to it. Even
and
like
that song will be on that game forever.
down to Mario Kart, I will always have the Mario theme song in my
My
head.
favorite game ever.
Good choice, good choice.
And it's yeah, I get what you mean. So yeah, I can see that sort of vision. It's
Yeah.
interesting. I like that sort of aspect of, because I feel like our generation, we're very like, the attention span is not there.
It's not
we
there.
need that visual
Definitely.
stimulation. We need that.
Absolutely.
It's
coupled with the audio stimulation, coupled
Yeah.
with the sensory.
so with radio, do you feel like radio is still radio if you're now watching it? You know, there's a lot of podcasts
Yeah.
and it's like video podcasts.
That's a very controversial thing, because
Yeah.
whenever I'm watching a podcast, I don't feel like I'm watching a podcast. That's a video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a YouTube video,
But
isn't
I-
it?
Exactly.
Guilty, but I prefer the
I
video
do,
one
I
because
do, I
again,
do.
I am that new like I need something. I want to look at what his hair looks like. What is his TV?
Yeah.
I want to see.
For me, I don't watch podcasts.
Which
I
makes
listen to them
absolute sense.
because, you know, Poet said to me, shout out to Poet, he said, seeing isn't always believing.
Yeah.
And podcasts are a really intimate format
Yeah.
where someone can fall in love with your voice. You know, like when someone, you know, you're interested in someone and you want to start a relationship, the voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oftentimes the voice is one of those factors you consider, you know, the eyes and, the, you know, how they look and
Yeah.
how
And
they
the voice
talk.
can turn you away
But
as
the
They're
well.
not sounding right.
Right? So, you know, personally, I hate my voice. As a rapper, I don't like my voice, but it's my voice. So I think that's what I love about podcasts, is that it's really intimate in terms of the voice type thing. But what I will say with the podcasts that are doing video and all that, it's audio visual experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it
yeah.
stimulates the ears and the
the
eyes.
eyes.
But the beautiful thing is that you can now choose. I don't want to watch it because I when I say I don't want to watch it, it's not that it doesn't have value, but podcasting fits into my life. So, and it's the same with radio. If we take it back to radio, you can listen to the radio in your car. You can listen to the radio while you're shopping. You can listen to the radio while you're at the gym, doing the school run. You got to sit down to watch that video. So that might be
Yeah.
2 hours of your day.
Yeah.
Taken away. I like that. Like
Yeah,
you're-
because you know, even like my brother was saying like, "Oh, you need to start listening to podcasts," and I was like, "Why?" And he was like, "Because I'll literally go to the gym or like I'll be going to work listening to a podcast," and I was like, "Wait, this is actually true because." Like you said, you're not wasting time sitting there watching it. Like, you're just listening to it, and you're learning so much from just listening. So just audio itself, but also like I'm assuming from your roots, because you've been in radio, like you obviously would prefer just the audio aspect of it as well, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's way more intimate to me.
Yeah.
And I like listening to radio when you hear the host talking. Like I grew up in an era in hip hop where you didn't even know what some of the artists looked like.
Yeah,
You know, like I heard Biggie's voice years before I knew what he looked like.
yeah,
And
That's
I'm quite I'm an imaginative person. So when I'm
Yeah.
listening to radio, I'm like, what does that person look like? What they wearing? What does the room look like?
yeah.
You know, like even if we, you know, we touch on podcasting, and I know like Joe Budden's podcast. I only knew what Parks looked like maybe 2 years ago,
Oh wow,
but I've been listening to his music for
a minute.
10 plus years. I like seeing isn't always believing.
Anonymity is a bit.
yeah, and I like ears. I think, and it also helps with your attention span because you have to listen.
Yeah. And it's all down to your imagination.
Yeah.
And that's amazing because that's not something you get these days.
100%.
I feel like especially podcasting fits very well with the new age that we have, where everything is very visual, everything is very, you know, picture ready, that kind of thing. So it makes absolute sense as to why there's now a new group of people that need to watch something along with what it is they're listening to, no matter how engaging it is.
Yeah, agreed.
It's interesting in that aspect. But thank you very much, Chris.
My
It
pleasure.
was very,
Thank you
very,
so
very
much.
lovely to have you and hear your thoughts.
Yeah. And you informed us of pirate radio very well.
I mean,
Educated us.
I try. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Pirate Radio. It was one of the first instances where I can say I found my voice.
We want to thank Chris Mitchell for joining us on the Northside Pirates podcast.
On the next episode, we'll be talking to the legendary DJ Elaine and diving deeper into the legend of pirate radio in London.
In addition, we wish to thank Chris for his assistance behind the scenes and for allowing us to be able to do this podcast for the National Heritage Fund charity. Our goal with this podcast was to be useful and informative for all you listeners. We hope you enjoyed it as well.